everyone. Welcome back to another episode on the channel. My name's Ben, and the guy to that side, his name is Paul. Hello, Paul.
How's things, mate?
I'm good. It's summer.
3 weeks. We keep wearing the same shirt. We gotta sort this out next time. Get our washing right. Do it on record on a different day.
We'll have to do a load.
My Thursday greens.
Get your. Do you do the washing in the recording studio? Is the washing machine in there, or is that in the house?
No. This is absolutely the shed. So there's no washing machines in the shed. Keep that sort of stuff to the laundry.
Washing machine's under my desk right here, so I'll just stick it in and do it.
Oh, is it really? A little peek behind the curtain for everyone.
I'll have to do the behind the scenes.
I've just got the lawnmower off shot.
All right, Paul, this episode is all about coaching. Okay, so we've got 3 topics just like usual. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. Please do that. I should say that off the top. But this is about coaching. So the first one for you today, Paul, is coaching from the bench. A few coaches like to do that these days. Some of them tinker with it every now and then. Our lovely coach, Chris Scott, he's generally one that likes to sit up up in the coach's box and watch from
afar. Very animated character.
And trust people on the bench to do their job. Trust people to do their job. But we are seeing a lot more coaches adopting the Simon Goodwin model, Ken Hinkley model, and doing it from the bench. But take it away, Paul. What's your? I don't think we'll have a strong opinion on this necessarily, but what do you think about it? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
No, I think it's a case of each to their own. I think for the most part, and you kind of mentioned 2 very different examples. So Simon Goodwin doesn't really give away a lot when he's out on the field. He's not crazy emotive. I'm sure there's moments where hand goes up or he starts putting the head through the hands or any of those, but it's not too over the top. Ken Hinkley, on the flip side, is very animated. So I'm wondering if there's like a horses for courses thing here. If the players really understand the dynamic and the way that Ken behaves versus the way Simon behaves versus the way Chris Scott might behave. If everyone's kind of okay with it, then maybe it doesn't really matter where the coach goes and they just determine whatever's the right fit at the time. Chris Scott, we've seen him get very animated. There's been lots of shocked faces, and I mean, he's not throwing things around the room like an Alistair Clarkson or something like that, but or Dimmer. But maybe he's recognised, or the club has recognised that the right place for him to be is to be in the box. He has the better line of sight over the ground for starters. Maybe the way that messages are being communicated is good, and so they don't feel like it needs to be Chris there on the sidelines geeing him up. And for the longest time, some of the coaches that you've seen this occur with have been clubs of lower seeded teams. Not always. There's obviously exceptions, and we've obviously mentioned Melbourne, who's been a premiership winner recently, and Port, who's been kind of there or thereabouts for quite a while. But a lot of the other teams who've done it have been kind of down the ladder. And maybe that's a handy thing for him, especially if the coach has got the right sort of level of composure to be able to talk and address and build the player up and get their confidence right, all those sorts of things. But otherwise, look, I'm not too fussed. Honestly, I think it's horses for courses, whatever's right for the team. I like Chris Scott up in the box. It would be interesting to see him come down to the ground, but I think the age profile of the list would need to change a lot for that to happen. We've got such an experienced team that do you need him there? I think there's all of those sorts of variables in the mix that probably determines whether it's even necessary for a coach to go down there, let alone if they feel like it is the thing that they want to do. I don't know. Interesting one.
It is. And you see a lot of other sports where the coaches are on the bench. In basketball, do you ever see a coach that's not on the bench next to the players, talking to the players, running up and down?
I mean, it's a bit different, right?
It's different. It is different. In NFL, maybe it's different again. There's usually someone up the top sort of looking
feeding information down,
feeding that information up the top as well. And all the coaches, basketball, have got that information. There's a bunch of other sports, soccer, or world football. There's always a coach on the bench. So AFL is very different in that way, that the coach sits up and has the bird's eye view. It is an interesting one. I don't have a strong opinion on it. I don't necessarily think you should be on the bench if you've got a young team and you need to wrap your arm around them and talk to them necessarily. I just wonder whether some coaches are a little bit more comfortable delegating the responsibility of strategy to someone like in the Melbourne situation, the Goodwins. I think he's very comfortable having someone look at it from that angle and and analysing what's happening at that level. And he's more about the relationships with players and so forth. Not that Melbourne's got a young side or they're transitioning, but it's more about eyeballing the players,
the
making
right
sure
fit.
his message is getting through, not being filtered by another person on the bench who he's phoning it down to. I guess it's probably like in any sort of management role. It's like, are you comfortable with delegation? So I don't necessarily think it's good or bad. I just think it's a bit of a wait and see one over the next few years as to how coaches go with that. I mean, it tends to be in AFL, doesn't it, that everyone tends to adopt what works and starts to copy all that. But we'll wait and see. I don't know. I feel like that's probably the way it'll go. I think more coaches will start doing it, but we'll see. Maybe it's the generational thing, Paul, which we'll come to.
Which will link to, I think it'll probably link well to another question.
Exactly. But before we get to that one, let me ask you about runners. I'm not talking about what you wear on your feet. Talking about the people. What color is it? Pink or fuchsia? Or I'm not sure what color it is, but it's the ones that run the messages out from the coaches onto the grounds. Are they necessary? Do we need them? Are they a bit of an eyesore? I've clearly got a slant on this one. You probably can pick that up, Paul. Are they vital to the game? Where do you sit with runners?
Shannon Burns was our runner of the year recently.
I love Shannon Burns. Don't get me wrong.
No, I'm fine. I think it's just a time and place thing. You want them to be mostly seen and not heard. Obviously heard by the players, but there's ways to communicate the message without being in the frame of the camera, without getting in the way of the game in any way. Maybe that is when a goal's been kicked and nothing more. Maybe that's the sweet spot. I don't know. When I see them wander out on the ground and they, give the guys just kicked a goal, slap on the ass and pumps them up and has a bit of stupid fun or passes on a message. Like, I'm fine with all that. I don't feel like I see them that often in other points of the game anyway. I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of got the blinders up and I'm not noticing it. So, but as a result, for me, I'm not too concerned and I don't feel like there needs to be too much change from whatever we've got now. But I'm sure there are some teams and some coaches that are probably abusing that more than others. And maybe it's just Geelong and Shannon Burns. Maybe it's because Shannon Burns is so short. We love you, Shannon. But maybe it's because he's so short that we don't notice him as much. He just pops up out of the ground, sends his message, and disappears again.
And it's because he runs along the boundary, giving thumbs up to the people in the crowd as well. That's true, with a big smile. That's why we love
that's just you fishing for a bit of love from him. That's all.
Oh, I love a bit of love from him. Mate, I'm going to come hard on this one. If you'll indulge me for a moment, and yes, we've made it very clear we love our Shannon Burns. But I just don't like the look of extra human beings on the playing field. I would much prefer to keep it to the players and a few officials. I'm hating all the advertising that's creeping into it as well. I hate it, absolutely hate it. I just want to keep the product as clean as possible. I don't feel the need with 75 interchanges. You can get a message to a player when he comes off 10 times a game. I'm sure you can get a message to him in that moment. If there's 6 goals kicked in a quarter, I'm sure there's 6 opportunities, let alone the breaks in between quarters, to get messages across. How many messages do you need to get across? I feel like it's more of a it's micromanaging from coaches in some ways. Like they've got to be talking to the players. And every time you talk to a player, you go, I don't have no idea what the coach just said. I can't remember.
I mean, Jeremy Cameron says that all the time.
How much are they actually taking in anyway? So how much value is it? I don't know. I've never been a big fan of runners being out there all the time. Like a couple of messages a quarter, great. When there's a goal kicked, great. Send a runner out. Well done, good goal, good kick to that player, whatever. I don't think you need to be running out 10 times a game. Maybe we have a special exemption for Shannon Burns. He's allowed to, but everyone else has to get off the ground. I don't know. I just don't.
Bit of bias. There's nothing wrong with that.
A little bit of bias. Can't do anything with that. Now, you're a teacher, Paul. I'm sure you know that, but for people that maybe are watching us for the first time, if you are, where have you been? And maybe give us a like and a subscribe. We'd love that. But Paul, you are a teacher and you have been for quite a while, and you've seen different generations of kids coming through. We've got a Z generation in AFL football these days, and coaches got to be really mindful about how they talk to players of this generation. I'm not going to ask the question. I'm just going to put that out there and see where you run with that. What are your thoughts on how? Maybe I'm asking a question, but just take us through your thought process there.
You're trying to poke some sort of clickbaity line out of me talking about how precious Gen Z are, and they are. So let's go with it. No, it's from the generation before them to the generation before them to the generation before them. There's like culturally, and I'm not even talking about necessarily the kids, but like the culture itself has changed. What is considered acceptable has changed, and that gradually is, required everyone to be more and more gentle, I guess, in the way they speak over the years. And I believe that then it's, and I say this as a teacher who has to be very careful about what I say at the best of times anyway, regardless, I think, of the generation. Though I guess it wasn't that long ago that people were still using, smacking kids with a ruler and all that sort of stuff. But that's definitely not been in my teaching generation. It wasn't my generation as a student either. So it's been a while. Yeah, I've gone off track a little bit there, but
I'm enjoying the fact that you've gone off track a little bit there. I'm just thinking about retractors and
just
other chalk in the
trying
head.
to not mince my words, but at the same time not put my foot in it. So yeah, look, there's been that generational change. Certainly, I think the way everyone speaks to each other has changed. There's a lot of societal expectations there, and I think that has made it like it's made it the AFL as well. You need to be careful about the way you speak to your charges as the coach, even within teammates. And it is an interesting one because we know that there's the very blokey culture and the banter and the bullshit and unfortunately lots of inappropriate comments directed to people of all sorts of different backgrounds. Like that sort of stuff still happens, but then people can get very precious about themselves when all of a sudden the scathing comments have been directed their way. There's some hypocritical components to the behavior of some of the players as well. Someone who makes a comment and maybe makes a sexist, racist, homophobic, whatever it is, comment on the ground, then also cracks the sads when someone has a crack about whatever. So it's weird because there's a kind of a hypocritical nature to it, but I also would want to see everyone speaking to each other better. I would want to see everyone being more respectful. I would want a coach to not have to scream and shout to get their message across, but sometimes that's what's required because, and like even in the classroom, like I'm not a yeller. In fact, I'm just more of a smartass, and sometimes the smartass tone gets the job done when all of a sudden I'm kind of, making a few little wisecracks such that the kid goes, "Oh, hang on, he's onto me here."
Paul, do you? If someone's not paying attention, do you say, "Oi, Jono, so tell me what's the answer to this? Is that your go? Do you sort of catch them out and sort of ask them?
A little bit. My favorite one is honestly just walking around and they've been so invested in something they shouldn't have been doing, maybe looking at advice, maybe they've managed to successfully for a brief moment, smuggle their phone out, and there's rules around you can't have phones in schools basically full stop these days, and I'll just drift around there and we'll just lean against the wall and wait. And then eventually one of their mates notices that I'm just standing there watching. And then you see the big into the side, and then they look up and go, they're hiding whatever it is. And like, mate, it's too late. Take your phone out of here, or whatever it happens to be. Or a kid's not listening, and I've repeated the message a few times. There might be if you're familiar with the American Office, maybe a "Did I stutter?" that comes out from time to time. A few of these things for effect, and there are, I guess, comparisons between that and then the way a coach might need to speak sometime for effect. Because if you are one note all the time, the players or the students, in my case, they're not going to sense any difference when it really matters to you. But you're just carrying yourself in the same way, they don't necessarily understand the message or the importance or whatever it is. And so sometimes you do need to maybe scream and shout a bit or whatever it is that works in that instance. It's a handy thing to pull out on very, very rare occasions. You can't do it too much because then you're not taken seriously. And I think that works in education just as much as it does football.
All right, so you've had a crack at today's generation. Well done. I'll pat you on the back for that. Now, what would your granddad?
Soft as butter.
Your granddad played a bit of footy. Your granddad played a bit of footy for the Cats, a few games back in the day. What would he say about your generation, Paul.
You probably say that my lot's pretty soft as well. But again, I think there's that generational thing. Like generation after generation, we've been kind of taught to go a bit softer in terms of the way we speak. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, I don't think. But it does sometimes make it more difficult potentially to convey a message.
Tell you what,
when it really needs to be heard.
I think you've said everything that needs to be said about that subject. But tell you what, I wanted to say, I would love to see some hidden footage of Chris Scott absolutely going spare at the team after a poor performance.
We've heard the boys say on a couple of times that he's given it to him. Like even over the course of season 2024, I'm pretty sure that Port game that I'm sure I heard comments come out of it afterwards that he ripped strips off him at quarter time or half time or something like that. And again, sometimes it's required in any environment, any kind of workplace. Sometimes if you're in a position of leadership and the people who are tasked to oversee or guide or educate or get to execute a game plan in a football match aren't listening or aren't following through on it, and you've tried it a few different ways and the message isn't getting there or they're not responding, you either get desperate or you start to pull on some different chords and try things that might work. And getting a little bit hostile at times can be a method of success.
I wonder who...
You just don't, like I said, you just don't want to overdo it, because when you overdo it, that's when... And this is parenting.
Too.
Parenting is the same, yeah.
You're not going to pick, I don't know, you're going to get in Jai Clark's face, a second-year kid that's maybe still just trying to find his way in AFL, but maybe that's why Tom Stewart doesn't like answering the phone to him sometimes. But maybe it's okay to get in Tom Stewart's face and make an example that the rest of the side can see, like just absolutely spitting saliva in Stewart's face. Get right in there. Maybe he's done that once in a while, but I don't know if I'd do it to the young kids. I'd probably just let them get a bit of a scare of seeing what he did to one of the senior blokes, or maybe
potentially,
if you're going to, as you said, use that sort of different tone once in a while. Directed at the whole group, not at an individual. I think that's probably where the generation maybe doesn't react that well to being.
When it's one-on-one, it's very direct.
Do it away from the group, one-to-one. But even then, you've still got to be mindful of how that's being.
I think one-to-one is actually probably where it's more dangerous. In any sort of circumstance, when there is that group thing and it's kind of shared across the board, and maybe there's hints of a bit pointed, or they're blasting, and you kind of know deep down, like, yeah, he's talking about me, but he's not talking at me. That kind of, I think, can help sometimes when you're trying to deliver that, more hostile tone.
We should have done a whole episode about you and your experiences with sneaking up on kids.
Hang on. No. Let's frame that differently, please.
Sorry, that came out of my mouth.
Let's frame that. Please do not throw me under a bus like that. But just making the observation of students using a phone when they shouldn't be, and just. Correct.
I had a teacher back in the day, geography teacher, Mr. Knox, good bloke, but he scared the hell out of me in year 7 and year 8. He would. Year 7, year 8 kids, they're going to be a bit silly. They're still figuring things out a little bit. And he would just sort of sneak up. And he was a big, tall man, or at least he felt that way when I was younger. And he would slam his hand down. Oh, I've just there. I just knocked the camera out.
Right down to the fact that I'm on camera now. There we go.
He would do that, or because he'd wear shorts all the time. He'd be like he used to dress like. My memory's like this. Like who's that? Russell Coit. Is it Russell Coit? Anyway, the tight shorts. He just slammed his foot on my desk or someone's desk when they weren't paying attention. But anyway, thank you. I think we'll leave it there, Paul. I think we've covered all the fun stories. That we could probably go on for a little bit longer.
I'll tender my resignation tomorrow.
Tender your resignation. No, Paul, don't sneak up on kids. Don't please. I did frame that terribly.
Christ almighty.
I do like you putting a little bit of fear into some students every now and then when they maybe just need their focus has drifted somewhat, Paul. I do like that. So
every now and then you need a gentle reminder that you're off track.
Yep, and yes, exactly right. Every now and then. Thanks for watching. This has been another episode of the Summer Series. We'll be back next time, Paul. Maybe with a special guest. We'll see. We'll see how we go with that. But, hopefully, we'll have a change of clothes. We'll do a load of washing. But until next time, go Cats. See you on the next one.
See you later.
Take care.